After my 6 years relationship ended, I kept waiting. Kept waiting for her to come back. I kept waiting for a message. I kept waiting for a conversation that would somehow explain everything and make the pain easier to understand. And honestly, for a long time, I didn't realize that I was waiting. I thought I was being patient. I thought I was giving things time. I thought maybe I just need to become better, fix myself, and prove that I was still worth choosing. But while I was waiting for her, my life was also like waiting. I was still going through my days. I was working out. I was trying to stay productive. I was trying to keep my faith. But emotionally, part of me is still stuck in a relationship. When you spend 6 years with someone, they just don't disappear from your routine. They become connected to your plans, your memories, your habits, and the future you imagine yourself. So when the relationship ends, you aren't only losing that person, you're also losing the version of the future that you thought you were building together. And that was the hardest thing for me to accept. I wasn't only missing her, I was grieving the life I thought I was going to have for a while. I believe moving forward would mean that the relationship didn't matter anymore. It almost feel like choosing myself would mean betraying the love that I had for her. But eventually, I had to face something uncomfortable. I wasn't waiting for her anymore. I was waiting for permission to move on, permission to stop checking emotionally, permission to build a future that didn't include her, permission to become someone new without feeling guilty about it. And I realized that permission was never going to come from another person. It had to come from me. That realization didn't instantly remove the pain. I didn't wake up in the morning completely healed, but it changed the direction of my life. I started to understand that rebuilding myself wasn't about proving something to her. It wasn't about becoming so successful, so disciplined, or so physically strong that she would regret living. It was about learning to stop abandoning myself. The gym became part of that process, not because lifting weights magically heals heartbreak, but because every time I show up, I was keeping a promise to myself. On the days when I felt strong, I showed up. On the days when I felt lost, I showed up. On the days when nobody noticed my progress, I showed up. And slowly, I started rebuilding trust with myself. My faith also became more important. There were a moment when I didn't understand why the relationship had to end or what God was doing with a part of my life. I still don't pretend to have every answer, but I started believing that maybe the season wasn't only about losing someone. Maybe it was also about being rebuilt. Maybe God, maybe God was teaching me how to become a man who could stand on his own, a man who could love someone without completely losing himself. That is what I'm still learning today. I'm not filming this as somebody who has everything figured out. I'm filming it as somebody who is still rebuilding. There are still difficult days. There are still memories. There are still moments when I wonder what could have happened differently. But I no longer want to spend my life waiting for a past version of my future to return. I want to be present for the life that is actually in front of me. And maybe you are in that position right now. Maybe you are waiting for someone to come back. Maybe you're waiting for an apology, an explanation, or a final conversation. Maybe you think you need closure before you can start living again. But sometimes, closure isn't something another person can give you. Sometimes closure is the decision you make when you finally say, I love this person. This relationship mattered to me. But I cannot keep abandoning my life while I wait for something I cannot control. Moving forward does not erase what happened. It does not mean the relationship was meaningless. It simply means you are choosing to honor the life that you still have. So this is the season I'm in now. Rebuilding my faith, rebuilding my discipline, rebuilding my body, And most importantly, rebuilding the trust with myself. Not so I can prove that I was worthy of being chosen, but so I can finally learn to choose myself too. If you're also rebuilding after a heartbreak, you are not alone. That is what this channel is going to be about: faith, discipline, fitness, and becoming the person you are being called to become. Even when life does not go according to plan, we are going to build together. One decision, one promise, and one day at a time.